Somewhere underneath all this scaffolding are the remains of Codnor Castle here in Derbyshire. The medieval knights who lived here fought in just about every battle, from the Crusades to Agincourt to the Wars of the Roses. But nobody knows exactly what it looked like. This is the earliest picture we have of it, but that's 18th century, after it had fallen to rack and ruin. Now, though, the castle's about to get a facelift, which gives us the opportunity to find out what it looked like, how old it was, and whether it was a defensive fortress or more of a medieval show home. And as usual, we've got just 3 days. Codnor Castle sits right on the border between Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire, surrounded by countryside which has been parkland for a millennium. Over the last 500 years, the park's been extensively mined, and believe it or not, there are even records of mines within the castle walls. We have this big problem in that no one knows where the mines were or how deep they were. So John and his team have been here since the crack of dawn, trying to do the preliminary work for us. John, what are the chances of survival? And I'm not just talking about the archaeology.
Well, I think you'll survive. The problem is we still can't find any of these shafts.
If there's been mining here for centuries, are we likely to find anything at all?
Yeah, look behind you, Tony. Can you see the stonework between the towers and the grass above it? That's the ground level inside there, so it's above your head. It's a good 6 foot higher than out here. And I guess what that is it's a product of quarrying and mining waste being dumped in there. Now, that could act like a protective blanket, sealing and protecting the archaeology underneath.
Will the bits of the castle that survived tell us much?
Yeah, we've got quite a bit. We've got the rather fine gateway here. It's ivy-clad, but we can still see a lot from it. And through the gap, you can just about see the chamber block.
Is this plan recent?
This is the best plan we've got. Can you see we've got the original castle here, but only certain walls survive. What's happened to these walls? We need to try and work that out. Then the castle was extended, maybe in the 14th century, by adding on the lower court. And this is where we're standing now. And then around it, all these earthworks. What are these? Are they a result of quarrying, mining, or actually medieval features?
So what's the first target then, Neil?
I guess a trench in there now, and let's see how far down we've got to go. We're going to go down 6 inches or 6 feet. Looks just like building rubble, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
We want to find out when Codnor Castle was built and what it looked like. So Trench 1 goes in on the upper court, inside what's thought to be the oldest part of the castle. And 6 foot below, in the lower court, we're sinking 2 more trenches, just outside the old castle walls. Phil's trench will go right up to the wall to see if there's any information to be gleaned from the foundations. A few metres away, Matt is going to investigate the gateway to find out how the de Greys who lived here entered their castle. And Stuart and Henry are coring some of the earthworks to try to work out what's mining and what's moat.
They're still cutting something. I mean, if that's 3 metres deep now, the length of that rod, that's an incredibly deep ditch, isn't it?
Above the ditch in the upper court, Neil and Raksha have had a very welcome surprise.
It's very mixed, but it just doesn't look to me like the kind of stuff you would get upcast from coal mining.
No, but that's quite promising, though, I think.
I think this looks like archaeology, you know. And if we're right, we're not even 6 inches down.
I know. Well, that throws the 6 foot theory out of the window, then.
So, you know.
On the other side of the castle wall, 6 feet below, Phil is hand digging up to the wall.
Oops.
Hey, Phil, that doesn't look like one of your normal trenches. You're burying a dog?
No, what we want to do is run out a trench that way, but obviously we can't machine right up to the wall, so what I've done is cut a little slot in here to expose the wall, and then we should just machine back from there.
And Neil's working up there?
Yeah, he's just the other side of the wall.
Neil? Neil? It's Juliet. Have you found anything yet?
Fantastic discovery, Tony. Not 6 foot down, not even 6 inches down. 2 inches below the grass. So we've got a real medieval wall coming across the trench and rubble all around it.
What it still doesn't resolve is the discrepancy between where you are and me 6 foot further down.
Sure, but as we dig down in our trench, we should get an answer to that, shouldn't we?
It's a huge relief to discover that the archaeology hasn't been entirely mined out. What remains of Codnor Castle has survived centuries of mining and even attempts in the 1960s to demolish it. But with complete collapse seemingly imminent, the landowner, UK Coal, has stepped in with English Heritage to preserve and stabilise the ruin.
The problem is if this is left much longer, its roots will expand and split the wall.
Yeah.
The only way you can do it is to try and pick the wall apart. So initially we take loose stones off until we can find where the root is penetrating into the wall. When we got to a point where we can't take any more apart, we'll cut the stump off, poison it, and then seal it in the wall core.
When you've finished it, how are you going to seal the top to make sure the rain doesn't start coming in and the whole thing will start all over again?
That's always the problem with any ancient monument. We'll cap it with flat stones and mortar and then put turf on the top.
UK Coal are working on the chamber block, the de Grey's private quarters, which stands at the end of what we think is the original castle. There should be walls surrounding it, but 2 are entirely missing. And running alongside the walls, we're looking for rooms such as the Great Hall, kitchens and servants' quarters. And we're hoping that an 18th century engraving by the Buck brothers can help us.
It's so hard to make sense of. It's absolutely full of doors and windows, and the perspective is going completely mad.
Normally they're reasonably accurate, but they're a bit like a Morecambe and Wise sketch. You know, all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order.
Oh dear.
Helen and Richard's mission is to put the notes in the right order and locate some of the important rooms.
This should be the north gable end of the chamber block,
Yep.
but it's internal.
Ah,
There's a great big fireplace there.
yes, and that's enormous, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So if that implies a room coming this way, it either can't be a very big room, in which case you'd be getting extremely hot because you're next to this giant fireplace, or something must have happened to the land around here, because look how it drops off.
This room must have been, you know, at least sort of 15 foot, 20 foot long.
And what do you think it might have been?
It's a high-status room of some description, otherwise it wouldn't have had a fireplace that size, but it's some sort of domestic chamber. You know, not the main chamber, but sort of an annex to it, possibly.
So Geophys set to work to find the room's missing wall. Meanwhile, Raksha's found our first bit of dating evidence near to her wall.
Well, Paul, we've had our first piece of pottery. It's pretty modern now, isn't it?
No, that's late 17th century, early 18th, something like that.
That's modern in my book.
Not modern.
The jug dates to the period just before we know the castle was in ruins.
Marvellous.
Do we know when it was built?
No, we don't. The first mention of the castle being here is in 1308, and that's in an inquisition on the death of one of the Lords de Grey. And all that tells us is that there is a castle with various acres of arable and meadow and mills, etc. It doesn't give us any physical detail about the castle.
Why might it have been built?
For that, I think we need to look at the ranking of the Grey family. They're important barons in Derbyshire, they're important on the national stage, they're soldiers, they're serving in the King's wars. They're of that rank that we would expect them to have a castle.
It could be, couldn't it, that there was a castle here before this one?
There could be. We don't have the evidence of yet, and maybe you'll find that over the next couple of days. But we know there's a park. Back in 1246, we have King Henry III granting deer, etc., to I think it's then Richard de Grey. So they've certainly got a big estate here at Codnor, and we might expect them to have a house to go with it. But at the moment, there's no documentary and no archaeological evidence for an earlier site.
So we know there was a castle here in 1308, and we're hoping to establish what it looked like. But the archaeology in Trench 1's confusing. Matt was expecting to find a path through the gateway, but instead he's got a wall.
Just looking at the masonry, I think it might be a later wall, it might be post-castle. But it's early days yet, and let's see what it turns into.
I mean, it's pretty big, isn't it? It's huge.
It's massive, yes.
Matt isn't the only one who's confused by the masonry. Richard's finding the ruin quite difficult to date.
So now if we're on the outside, what's that sticking right out into the moat?
Well, that's like a guard road tower, a toilet tower.
That's big.
It's a pretty posh one, yes.
Can you put a date on it?
No.
Well, not at all.
Not at the moment, no. I mean, like any masonry structure, unless you've got some mouldings that you can specifically date to a specific period, then you're just dealing with a masonry structure that could have been built any time in 300 or 400 years.
Although the masonry is difficult to date, we're having more luck with the finds.
Paul.
Yes, mate.
This is quite interesting.
Nice. That, if I've got it right, is probably 15th or 16th century.
Oh.
Yeah, it gets quite pale and orangey coloured round here late on in the medieval period. It might go on into the early medieval.
That's very encouraging.
It's great stuff, isn't it? Good stuff.
We'll have a bit more out here.
Cool, Neil, when you're up here, you get a real sense of the difference in floor levels between there and here, don't you?
Absolutely right, Tony. And you know I said the archaeology was 2 inches below the ground surface?
Yeah.
That's the top of this wall. You can see that face coming along there.
Yeah.
Now, it's been chopped out here by quarrying and mining, but we've got a really good face on this side, and where Ratcher is, I think we've got something coming up there, Ratch.
There's these 2 stone lintels, one here and one upright right there. Part of the doorway, which the entrance is to be running in that direction.
So do you reckon that this wall here, Richard, goes with this one here?
Certainly looks like it. It's roughly parallel, and that was obviously some sort of high-status chamber with a properly glazed window over it.
So what kind of room could it be?
Well, it's next to the gateway, so possibly Porter's Lodge.
This is great news. We're not even at the end of day 1, and already we've managed to locate one of the key rooms in Codnor Castle. Where we're digging is right round the back there, but even all the way over here, there are loads of what appear to be remnants of the castle, just lying higgledy-piggledy all over the place. And take a look at this. Presumably this is some kind of doorpost. Look what else we've got. Henry and Stuart, what are you doing down here?
And I don't know if you know it, but this ditch you're standing in here might be the moat going round the building. And it seems to be defining something like a rectangular moat around the buildings which are up here. And so what we've been doing is coring it to see whether it ever had water in it, whether it was a proper moat.
Anything so far, Henry?
Well, yeah, we've caught a few areas. It's consistent that it's over 4 metres deep, and also the deposits in each place is the same. And what it's implying is basically that it's held water, and that water's been flowing, but only very, very slowly.
But the really interesting thing is, if you go up there and follow this ditch line down, it actually seems to be turning a corner. If it does, then it would have gone through where the lower court is down there.
And the archaeology confirms that the ditch or moat runs right along the lower court and in front of Matt's wall.
I think the main discovery since we were last here is this wall here, the return coming off this one, which is built into it, so it's a part of the same structure.
Yeah.
We don't have another side to it yet, so this may just be a kind of pit here, and then if you carry along the line, you can see just in the corner there, it looks like we've got...
Just here.
Yep, coming back this way as well.
And that would fit possibly with there being a drawbridge here, with a drawbridge pit underneath it.
Oh, right.
But the problem is that it doesn't line up with this turret very well. This edge seems to be going underneath the turret. It's hard at the moment to think what else it might be.
Despite Matt's reticence, this is a huge surprise. A drawbridge means a much grander entrance to the castle than we ever imagined.
Oh, that's nice.
And the finds aren't too shabby either.
That's what we call Cistercian work.
It's made by monks?
No.
Right.
It was called Cistercian work because it was first found in the excavations of all the great abbeys in Yorkshire.
Oh,
and
you've got to call it something,
And you've got to call it
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful little thing, really delicate little cup. You know, just the rim coming around like that. They sometimes have like up to 8 handles on them. They're really peculiar little things.
Matt and Faye have found some rather elegant carved stonework on the other side of the wall, but it's thrown them into confusion.
The angle coming off here looks like it's chamfered going down. This, that's one work stone there with the corner in it, and it's coming out this way. I've just been cleaning back here at the mattock, and it doesn't look like it comes out further this way, but the fact that it doesn't line up properly with this entrance, do you think it could be a completely different structure, something earlier?
That is a strong possibility at this stage.
So the challenge will be to find out if the drawbridge belongs to an earlier building. But as if we weren't busy enough, right at the end of the day, Jaffiz come up with a new target.
I think we've come up trumps We've got this fireplace in the end of that building. In the geophysics, you can now actually see this wall line. I think we've actually got a room that goes with that fireplace. I think there's a wall line that comes along here. And then look, this strong response here. Is that another building on that platform there?
Well, that big blob could just be coal workings, couldn't it? Well, it could, couldn't it? What do you think?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? It's a big wall and it's right on the edge of this really steep slope. So could it be that the actual building range comes right up to the end of the castle? So if this is the perimeter wall, could there be another tower?
So put a trench in tomorrow?
Oh, definitely. First thing, right through there.
Coal mine or castle? We'll know tomorrow.
If you'd like to see more episodes like this, you can make it happen.
Our new target is to reach 15,000 worldwide supporters on Patreon by the end of 2025. This will enable us to continue expanding the Time Team world. Enjoy front row seats for the greatest show on Earth and under it.
Beginning of day 2 here at Codnor Castle in Derbyshire. Nobody knows what this place originally looked like, and it's our job to find out. But first, you've got a lovely little find, Phil.
Yeah, it's a little buckle fitting, look. It's a gorgeous little thing, made out of copper, and it's got a lovely sort of decoration. And look, some of us still have decorative buckle fittings on our belts today.
Well, that was a little surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Where did it come from?
It came out of the ditch here.
Hang about. That's got all that black stuff in the bottom, which we got over there, which we thought yesterday was evidence of coal workings.
That means that this ditch was filled up after that wall was built. And I don't understand that.
Well, while Phil does his trousers back up, let's go and have a look over at this trench, which is also another puzzle, because, you see, you've got this tower here, and you've got a tower here, and in the middle it's blocked up, but presumably that originally would have been some kind of passageway. But this wall here doesn't really align with it properly. Look, if you have a look at this thing here, to align with that, you'd need to shove it over about a metre or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's puzzling, but it's puzzling in a good way, isn't it? I mean, what we're wondering is whether this might actually be an earlier entrance tower that predates these two round towers, and maybe that feature could be drawbridge pit?
So what's the plan today?
We've got two objectives. One is to pull back in this direction a short distance to try and see if we can get the matching splayed side. Can you see over there, Tony? Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully that should come back here, and that will prove conclusively how this relates to those towers. Then secondly, we've done a radar survey out over there, and we think the moat's about 9 metres wide. So what we're going to do is excavate a trench further up there.
9 metres, that's about 1, 2, 3, 4... About to here?
No, that's very short metres. You must have short legs. Right out here. Now, this is a hell of a distance, isn't it?
That's a heck of a distance.
So maybe even there's a central stone pier, and perhaps even with a second bridge or even like a stone causeway coming out. Now, wouldn't that be great?
It'd be wonderful to find. They're not that short. Just above the drawbridge trench, inside the round towers of the gateway, Richard has managed to find some dating evidence to help us work out the chronology of the castle.
Oh, what an amazing little place.
And you know, yesterday we were saying that there's not much to date in the masonry. Here we've got something. These tops, these lintels, are quite distinctive. These are called shouldered lintels.
Right.
And this is a kind of cantilevered out block there.
I see.
To hold a flat there.
Right.
And they're also called Carnarvon arches because they first really come in when Edward I is building the Welsh castles at Carnarvon in the 1280s. And they're used for about 50 years.
So that ties in really nicely with the documentary reference as well, because we've got that first reference in 1308, which is bang in the middle of the period.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. OK, let's go and look for some more.
Interestingly, the building of the gateway corresponds with a period of royal favour for the medieval knights who lived here. Henry III is said to have kissed Richard de Grey in gratitude because he and his brother were the only noblemen to sign up for an unpopular crusade. And in 1294, Edward I paid a royal visit to Codnor, an event so momentous it could even have prompted a rebuild. So the gateway could have replaced the drawbridge that Neil now thinks was surrounded by a tower.
And measuring back 28 centimetres before it starts. So if we go back and measure across...
To prove it, we need to find a similar chamfered edge on the other side.
Is it a stone lying at an angle or is it a chamfer?
Is it a...
Aha!
You found
Is that it?
something?
I think so. Look.
Oh, you jammy thing.
Have you got it, Matt?
There it is. That's definitely
There
it
it is.
That's got to be it there. You cannot argue with that.
You win.
I buy that.
Gold star for you.
Let's do a quick check. Matt, can you hold your tape over the top of the chamfer? And I'll measure
Over here.
out. Perhaps go up and I'll measure out to the drawbridge pit. 160 centimetres.
Right.
And if we go across to the other side, and you just hold it on the edge there, Matt.
Yeah. Hang on.
How about that? So I guess what it's showing is, isn't it, that we actually have a symmetrical tower on either side of the drawbridge pit. And I guess it kind of confirms that this is clearly unrelated to that.
Yeah.
Excellent. So this is the earliest part of the castle we've seen to date.
Although we don't yet know the exact date of the drawbridge, we know it was surrounded by a tower and crossed the moat running around the original castle on the upper court. Around 1300, it was replaced by the gateway that's still standing. But the walls on the west and north of the upper court have disappeared. Phil moves his team to the north of the castle to find out how much has been lost.
So that the wall should run through there.
He's looking for the wall and tower on the geophysics, which he hopes will be the other side of the room with the big fireplace on the end of the chamber block.
Oh. Oh, that's better
That's
there.
it.
Look, that is nice. We might have another little course in underneath here. Yeah, there we go. Now that one is knocked out of place. I ain't gonna hold it against Ian for that. So, and then there's yeah. We're into business now. Oh hey, look at that. Oh, look at that. I don't know whether this is foundation or what the hell.
While Phil works out what he's found, Rakshar and Paul have pretty much finished up in the Porter's Lodge. It's great when there's a little hill next to a trench because you can see the whole thing in plan like normally you never can.
Yeah.
And there are some fascinating details emerging. What's this wall then?
Can you see these holes right here?
Are they joists to support floorboards?
You'd think that, but I spoke to our local friendly castleologist and he tells me it's something called wainscoting. It's where you put timbers on the inside of a building. It's very posh, so it's high status, it goes with the castle. Another fantastic thing is there's this very, very tiny grey spread just here. And that's our earliest occupation layer. And we've also found 2 pieces of pottery in there.
Oh, have you got a date, Paul?
Certainly have. This stuff comes from Stamford, down in Lincolnshire.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped making it about 1150.
You're kidding.
No, really.
But that's ages before the first record of there being a castle here, isn't
They
it?
actually start making it around about the time of the Norman Conquest, so it could be that early in theory.
Well, that's a bit exciting, isn't it?
Isn't it?
This date takes us at least as far back as 1201, when Henry de Grey married Isolde, a Norman heiress who brought into the family Codnor, its parkland, and some money. And it looks like we've found their home, and the entrance might have been Neil's drawbridge over the moat.
That looks, doesn't it, as if you might have an intact dressed stone face.
That's very similar to the core of the structure we have over there.
Look at that.
Look at that, yeah.
Look at that. I mean, that's hefty stones, isn't it? Shall we measure the distance back to the front of the bridge abutment there?
Yep.
So Neil gets his tape measure out again to find out how far the drawbridge would have to span to cross the moat.
That is 7.4 metres.
OK, and if we go, I'll go back to where the radar picked up a big block of masonry, which is about here. What's that distance, Matt?
That's 13.9.
Well, 7 and 14 in round numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe what we've got here is a central pier.
Yeah. I think Brian was saying that the longest span you could have with wood is about 8 metres. So that would fit perfectly. One span to this.
Fits exactly, doesn't it?
And in the north, in the upper court, the line of stones Phil found earlier looks like it could actually be the castle's perimeter wall. But it's a stack of mysterious semicircular stones that's confusing him.
Reg!
Yeah? Rick, come here.
I mean, you don't know what it is either.
Yes, it's semicircular. It's made of... Come here. He's supposed to be shooting another scene. Look at that. What are these things?
Whoa. Oh, that's part of a pier base.
It's not just one thick thing, look.
They're in layers. Look, there's one there. I can even squeeze my trowel in amongst it. And then there's another one there. There's probably about inch and a half thick. And then there's another one there and a fourth one going on down. And they're still going way, way down. And they're semicircular.
Am I allowed in your trench?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not a trench, it's a hole. Good grief. Good grief, that sounds as though... Ooh.
Not quite so confident now.
Look, they do appear to have tooling.
Yeah, they're properly made. I think of two possibilities. One is a kind of a demi-column that sits against the wall, as they are now, stacked up. Or perhaps, if they turn 90 degrees, it could be coping stone, something like that, top of a wall.
And it is just a nice waterproofing thing to go over the top of it, sheds the water.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they don't seem to have been ever used because they've not been exposed to a lot of weathering.
Yeah, but there are some odd things on this site where it looks like things were planned or never finished, or planned, finished, but then sort of scrapped very soon afterwards.
While Phil gets to grips with the northern wall, back at the drawbridge trench, it looks like the pier that Neil thought was in the middle of the moat might actually be the other side of the moat.
The more this material goes back, the more likely it is that this isn't the pier, this is actually the solid abutment of the bridge spanning across to where the drawbridge pit is. I don't think we've actually got to where the anomaly is, have we, Ian?
No, it's underneath my cab.
So we just got to...
wouldn't it?
Yeah, we just got to pull it back and see if we actually hit that really big anomaly and see how it relates to this material.
So this means there would have been a wooden bridge over the moat. Under attack, the de Greys could have burnt this as a first line of defence. Then there was a drawbridge over the pit, which would have raised on a pivot. And if the intruders got this far, there would probably have been a portcullis. This elaborate defence seems to fit the image of the de Greys, because these were soldiers who featured in every battle from Agincourt against the French back to the Scottish Wars and the Crusades. And we're hoping to find some of their rooms alongside the missing west wall, where Faye's digging.
Brian,
Yeah,
can we have a look at these?
of course. Well, what I think you've got here is part of a plaster wall surface. It's got this nice plain surface on one side, and if you turn it over, you can see the impressions of the wooden laths that the plaster would have been attached to.
If we've got that, what could this feature be? This kind of semicircular feature coming in?
Does that butt up against the wall?
Yep.
Looks very like it might be a circular staircase.
Yes, I was so hoping you were going to say that. That's fantastic.
Over the last 2 days, we've discovered so many bits of walls and windows and finds from different phases of the castle that my head's spinning. It's time to take stock of what it all means.
Well, we can add a bit of flesh to that picture. We can give some phasing. We've got the earliest part of the standing structures of this posh sort of gate front here with the round towers. Now, from the diagnostic evidence, it's quite clear that's around 1300, 1320, something like that. And going on from that, we know that this wall here of the lower court, because it butts against that tower, it's going to be later, maybe 100 years later. Behind us, the big chamber block here isn't as modern as the brick fireplaces, then it would seem, because those brick fireplaces, 1500 say, have been inserted into an existing fabric.
Oh.
So that's probably around 1400 as well. So we've got those two basic medieval phases at least.
If this red is round about 1300, that ties in very nicely, doesn't it, with the first reference to a castle being on this site. But what about the archaeology?
Well, we've got Ratcher's building here, the sort of Porter's Lodge, that probably goes for that red phase there. In Phil's trench, we've got another room of that building, perhaps evidence of a curtain wall. And over here, where Faye's digging, we're starting to see evidence of a structure. But what really excites me, Tony, is we're actually getting some evidence of earlier occupation. Inside the Porter's Lodge, we've got some pottery that seems to date to the 12th century from the floor. Now, that doesn't go with the red phase, that must be an earlier phase, because we've got a much earlier gate tower that predates the round towers in that frontage. So the archaeology is suggesting earlier structures before 1308.
What kind of building might that be? Could it be another castle?
Castle, fortified manor.
Oh, just look at that entrance, Tony. You know, that's a monumental entrance. It's got a drawbridge. It suggests a major structure to me.
Definitely, yeah.
The archaeologists were hoping that Faye's staircase might be part of this structure.
So that, if that's the ark, I mean, it's much larger than a stairwell, isn't it? That's 4 metres, conceivably, if you project the line.
So with the light fading fast, day 2 ends with yet another puzzle. We came here looking for a castle. Now we've got loads of castles. And tomorrow we're going to get down into the Moat to see if we can find evidence of one of the earliest phases. And up here, we're going to shift our attention to inside the castle to see if we can find the rooms where the de Greys actually lived. And all that's tomorrow.
Join a thriving worldwide community of Time Team fans on Patreon.
Our new target is to reach 15,000 worldwide supporters on Patreon by the end of 2025. This will enable us to continue expanding the Time Team world with more digs and greater access than ever before.
Beginning of day 3 here at Codnor Castle in Derbyshire, and we've got a drawbridge, the first drawbridge we've ever dug on Time Team. This hole here is the pit in front of which the drawbridge would have sat, and you can imagine in the medieval period, before that entrance was blocked up with stones, the knights in armour charging through it and across the drawbridge. Except if you did imagine that, you would be totally wrong, because that part of the castle is much later than the drawbridge. Neil, how old is the drawbridge and how does it tie in with all the rest of the archaeology?
Well, that's what we're going to find out today, Tony. All we know is that the castle experts tell us that those 2 towers date to the early 14th century, so therefore this must be earlier than the 14th century. So we've got to get some dating evidence, and that's why we're going to dig into the moat. So can you see where Matt's digging? We've got all this rubble from demolition of the tower, so we're going to get through that to the bottom of the moat and get some dating evidence to go with that bridge.
As the rain sets in, Neil and Matt are searching for the bottom of the moat between 2 stone plinths. The suggestion is that these could be garden features from the final phase of the castle.
Do you know what? Is that a bit of marble? Is it marble? Or quartz?
Yeah. No idea.
I mean, you almost wonder whether it might have come from a statue or something.
Yeah, from the garden, yeah.
This dig has been so rich that it sometimes seems as if the castle has been bursting to tell its story. And it's inspired Victor to create our answer to the Bayeux tapestry following the fortunes of the de Greys during the 13th, 14th and 15th centuries. But the most colourful character of all was Henry de Grey, who managed to survive fighting on both sides of the Wars of the Roses and was granted a licence for alchemy.
Oh, so that's what we're seeing him doing here, isn't it? He's in his lab with all his books and his pestle and mortar and his crucible.
Yes, and I guess this is in part going to be do with the extraction of mineral resources from his estates?
Yes, I suppose so, because we tend to think of alchemy as all about turning base metals into gold and so on, but really it was just what we might call chemistry these days, wasn't it?
The sad thing, I guess, is we come to his death in 1496. He's got through 3 wives. He's had a number of illegitimate children, but he leaves no heir behind.
Oh,
so
no.
we have the end of the line.
So that's where his luck runs out.
After Henry died, the land passed to the Zouches, who created an industrial empire. And Phil's uncovered some of the changes they made to the northern end of Codnor Castle, where he's found the perimeter wall and an explanation for the blobs on the geophys.
What we've got is this circular thing here, but on the other side of the wall as well, there's this other circular thing. They're not a tower, but I think they're garden features.
I mean, it could tie in with this sort of peculiar sort of toy chivalric landscape. I mean, sort of miniature turrets or something overlooking the landscape.
I mean, what it means is that at some stage, this end of the castle went out of use. They knocked down that wall, and they then converted this area to gardens.
Yeah, and to little view mounds. You've got cracking views over the valley there from here, haven't you?
The castle and the landscape have clearly changed dramatically over the last millennium, and Stuart thinks he knows how. This is one of my more ridiculous moments on Time Team, doing play school in the rain with Stuart. Presumably this is some kind of demonstration.
Sandcastles, absolutely.
Between the 12th and 16th centuries, the de Greys built and rebuilt the castle, but it was the Zouches who had the really big ideas.
At some stage, and I think this is the early 16th century, they start to dig a small lake in this corner over here, create a huge bank on this side, and then this ditch goes all the way down here, and again all the material goes on the outside to create a big terrace. On the end they create a sort of mound feature, which is a belvedere. That's where it puts like a viewing platform to look over the landscape, and they do the same at the other end. And the whole thing is becoming a very grand, fashionable garden, and its style is all typical of the early 16th century. Now what I've been able to see is that these garden earthworks never fully finished. It's almost finished, but not quite.
Why didn't they finish it? Do you think they ran out of money or something?
I think what happened is it got so grand, they simply almost bankrupted themselves doing it.
And so the castle fell to rack and ruin, losing both its north and west walls. And Phil's now joined Faye on the west wall, where her latest theory is that her feature is a turret.
Oh, Faye!
Oh my gosh,
Look, you know you've been telling me you had plaster in this rubble here.
Yes.
Well, I've actually got it on the wall.
Oh,
Look at it. There's the plaster. There's the wall. It's just a very, very thin. It's a very, very thin veneer, but look, it's white. It's a white plaster. But you think about it. If this small turret was plastered, you could have had gleaming white walls all the way around. Look at that. Now look.
Stone floor coming in as well.
I think that could well be a stone floor.
Helen's been searching for rooms and features in the castle's ruins in an 18th century engraving by the Bucks, and she thinks she's got a breakthrough.
This opening here is clearly the same as this one over here.
Yes, it must be.
And that makes this stub of wall the same as this one. It's just we've only got half of it surviving. And then moving on much, much later, I mean, this must be early 20th century, I suppose.
Yes,
and luckily, we've got the opening there. So now we've got a photograph, we can go back to the building and say this is definitely that opening there.
So that means that this opening is probably a doorway.
Yeah.
Because of these joist holes here.
That's right, it shows definitely a floor in that position.
And although we now know that the chamber block is this part of the engraving, where the door led is a mystery. But Helen's on a roll. She's managed to locate the wall in Rakshaw's Trench.
So that big tree there is growing directly in this doorway, which means that the wall is presumably...
Could be that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it must be. That's excellent, it all ties in then.
Yeah.
So how much further do you reckon we've got? About, I reckon probably another half, maybe a metre almost.
Neil and Matt are finding it tough going as they dig into the moat to find the bottom of the drawbridge tower.
Okay. Bottom of the moat, almost there to yield its secrets.
With such a vast amount of material coming out of the moat, it's important that we search the spoil heap thoroughly. And this is why.
My hand's shaking.
Why is your hand shaking?
Gold coin, gold hammered coin.
Look at that hand. Come here, look at that.
I can't hold it still, I'm afraid.
I can't believe you're still on 2 feet.
I can't. I nearly fell over then.
I can't.
I'm just shaking.
You need to sit down and have a hot, strong sweet tea.
And it's a big one too, isn't it?
And given how soft gold is and how big this is, that is absolutely quite incredible.
OK, let us all calm down for one moment. What do we do with it?
What we do is we clean it up, which is a pretty simple process because gold doesn't corrode.
Yeah.
So and it's in such fantastic condition, we'll be able to get a good date off it.
Where was it found?
Just here in the spoil that's come out the bottom of the moat.
Neil?
Is that the ditch? It's out of the ditch.
So is this a primary silt here? Is this something we can date?
Yeah, I mean it's a great context because this has come out of the really thick silt at the bottom of the moat. So let's really hope. You know, I was saying to you earlier on, what we want is dating evidence of what date is that tower. If that coin is coming out of the primary silt, it's in a great position
It's not just the date, though. I mean, don't forget that this is not just wonderful dating evidence. It is a gold coin. It's going to be very, very high value. We've been talking recently about how the people are maybe not that rich, and you know, they're pouring all their money into the building. They're fairly rich.
just let me bring you round here for 1 second. Look at all these people gawping around here. Have any of you ever found a large gold coin before as archaeologists? No. This is a big one. This is such a big one. But not everyone's down tools to gaze at the gold.
Oh, that is... Oh, there it is. Oh, stony. That is a gorgeous edge, isn't it?
Phil and Faye are determined to find the other side of the turret.
Come on, does it curve? Look, and actually, look at that. Actually, look, that's actually a nice surface on there. Ah, what a little gem.
Rachel, this is quite a busy day for you looking at finds,
yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
We've already found a gold coin and now a silver one.
Yes, this is a little silver penny, and on the back of it you can just make out that it says Rex Scotorum, so it makes it a Scottish penny. And from the look of it, with these little pointed stars on the back, it appears to be Alexander III.
So what on earth is a Scottish penny doing lying around here?
Well, we know that the Greys were fighting with the English king up in Scotland in the early 14th century, so they could possibly have brought it back.
That's amazing, isn't it? Makes you wonder what we're going to find next. With time running out, Neil and Matt are desperate to get to the bottom of the moat in the drawbridge trench.
Paul, can you have a look at this? We've got a bit of pottery that's come out of the right at the very base of the ditch. What do you think? What kind of date might that be?
Oh, that's... Well, that looks proper medieval. That's your kind of 13th, 14th
13th, 14th century.
We're getting there. Looks like we're getting...
And we now know a little bit more about the other find from the moat. You've been looking in books, you've been on the computer, you've been making frantic telephone calls. What have you found out?
Well, it's a gold noble, which is the big gold coin of the period. These are really high status things. And on the front, it's got this complicated design. You can see a king there, and his head is kind of poking up through the sails. He's holding a sword upright, and he's got a shield with the arms of England quartered with the arms of France, standing in a ship.
It's an exquisite little design, actually. Does it mean anything?
It certainly does, yes. Apparently it's symbolic of the power of the English Navy at an amazingly early date. I mean, I tend to think of the Navy as being Nelson and so on, but this apparently refers to an incident at the beginning of the 100 Years' War in 1340. And then on the back, you've got lots and lots of symbols of power. We've got crowns and lions and fleur-de-lis and a big cross. And right in the middle of the cross is the initial H. And that little H gives you a clue as to who it is on the front.
It's Henry, isn't it? But which one? There are lots of Henrys.
It is. It's Henry V, actually, that very short-lived king.
Oh, that's Agincourt, isn't it? Once more into the breach and all that.
Absolutely. And what is really fantastic, of course, is that we've got that Agincourt link. One of the Lords de Grey is on the Agincourt muster roll.
And you can find out more about this on our website. Over the last 3 days, we found more than we bargained for, and Faye's west wall is no different.
OK, so does that kind of line up with the... well, just about, doesn't it?
It's pretty much in line with that lower court wall. But the most impressive bit is this block of masonry which comes all the way around here and is sweeping round like that. So it's actually a round tower that's been stuck on to the curtain wall. And you can see, look at the foundations. They're going down and down and down. It's massive this way. It's massive down that way. Inside our round tower, we've got loads and loads of burning. And originally, we thought this was kitchen. But the thing that really made us change our mind was this feature over here, which appears to be a fireplace. You can actually see that it's later because it's got all those bricks in it. Just as likely to account for all this burning.
Something I don't quite understand, Phil, is that what you're saying is that the tower is added onto this wall. And I can see that's a very clear butt joint, isn't it? But down there, the towers are actually integral with the wall. So how does that work?
Well, I think that front bit is the most important bit of the castle. You don't want it to look like a bodge job. You want it to look at the proper rebuild. This is the side of it, so it's not so important. So you've got round tower added onto it.
Richard thinks that the tower was added to the west wall at roughly the same time as the second gatehouse, possibly for Edward II's visit in 1322. And he's not done yet. We've been looking for the most important rooms in the castle, and just before the whistle blows, he's found one of them.
Now, you know I've been blithely referring to this as the chamber block for the last few days. I'm afraid I've had a rethink.
Oh, yes.
I think we've found the Great Hall.
Oh, my goodness.
Because it's such a tall building, I thought naturally it was of 3 stories, chamber above undercroft. But when you start looking for the floor joists, which are pretty important, you've got a set of floor joists there.
Yeah.
For the first floor. None above. So you've just got this one huge room at first floor level, and we even know where the door is.
Oh, yeah?
Over there.
Oh, I don't believe it. We've been staring at that door so hard. That's the one on the Bucks engraving.
Exactly.
And so, of course, that explains why it's such a vast, great door, doesn't it? Oh.
This is more than we could have hoped for. It's the 13th century first floor Great Hall where Henry de Grey entertained King Edward I, and the date ties in with the romantic entrance of the drawbridge.
Brian, we've done a lot of work in the Moat area today, and I think we've just about got a good story now.
Excellent.
We've exposed the front face of the tower.
Yeah.
We've got a hole that's been crudely bashed through the wall.
Mm-hmm. It might be simply that's the drain for the drawbridge pit behind. If water had been accumulating there, perhaps rainfall, then this has helped to drain it back out into the ditch.
OK. Then at the very bottom, the good news is that Matt's managed to expose the yellow natural clays, and that is the bottom of the tower wall. Coming back, we've got the moat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's big. You know, it's 6.5 metres wide and it's 3 metres deep. Coming further back up, we see here now we've got the abutment on the other side of the moat. You know, really well-built, mortared wall. And so coming up here, you know, you get a really good perspective of just how impressive that tower is. And goodness knows, what's it standing? 7, 8 foot high? You know, just think none of that was visible yesterday.
So this is how Henry de Grey and Isolde, his wife, would have entered their castle in the 13th century. Across the moat, over a grand drawbridge, past the porter's lodge and into the Great Hall. But in the early 14th century, the castle was rebuilt with towers and turrets on the perimeter walls. In the 15th century, they extended into the lower court. But it was the Zouches in the 16th century whose extravagant plans bankrupted the estate and left the castle a ruin. We were all really anxious that Codnor Castle might have been almost completely mined away, but we needn't have worried. An earlier castle, a moat and a drawbridge and a great hall and a tower all came to light. And even the rather sad final phase of gardens that bankrupted a family certainly did us proud. Oh, and of course we had one rather special find, which I'm glad to say is going to end up in the local museum in Derby. Now that's something you don't find every day. Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses and behind-the-scenes insights.